Hey everyone, and welcome back to an episode of That Cruise Show. Today we're going to be talking about the Canada and New England cruises that various cruise lines do, including small ship and your typical large ship. We went on a Canada New England cruise in May, 2011, I believe. It left out of Boston, and we had a great time. Honestly, I want to do it again. It was one of my favorite trips, even though we had a rocky beginning. It was amazing. But first, before we discuss all of that, James, do you have any cruise news today?
I don't have any specific cruise news except for the fact that I feel weird that I'm talking about the East Coast instead of cruising the West Coast. But that's okay because guess what? There are some cool fall cruises on the West Coast too. But anyhow, I think the only real cruise news we have is that we're still in a holding pattern, waiting for the CDC to make a judgment call. Unfortunately, I suspect that the fact that Europe is rising rapidly with COVID makes it more difficult for us to say that we can go ahead. But that being said, I feel like the Europeans are still managing it. They're expanding the Mediterranean cruises to Canary Islands now, and I hope for the best. I hope that they can innovate, and if there's mistakes to be made, they can make the mistakes before we do. That being said, for next year, I was reading an analysis from the cruise industry and some the bigger travel consolidators, and it sounds like cruise sales are robust for next year, but the trend is unequivocally closer to home, more focused on drive to markets, and Alaska is in that market for some people, but you're seeing really interesting cruise. Like I think mentioned last week, the fact that Princess is actually doing a cruise, actually multiple cruises from Los Angeles and then also San Francisco to Alaska, which is a long cruise, but it's an indicator that there are people who are more excited about cruising than there are flying right now. So I think that's something that's gonna continue, and we'll see how that nets out. But cruising is not over, despite what people might say about it being a petri dish. Uh, it will survive, and I think the cruise leadership is standing up and saying like, "Hey, we can do it, and we will do it." Because I know if you look on the various sea tracker type stuff, the cruise ships are starting to move around in Asia right now. We're starting to see rumors that some of the Norwegian ships are making port calls in India to pick up people, and that can only be an indicator that they know something we don't, and that they're going to be ready to start cruising the moment the CDC says you can go.
How cool is that, though? I mean, you have people, the cruise line picking you up close to your home. Hey, come on board instead of flying. But the cruise industry knows as well that there's a chance if you're flying, COVID as well. So
And I think the big difference too there is that while it might be cool I would love it if you know anyone that cruises. I don't care if it's a Carnival cruise ship or Silver Seas or Viking. If they picked me up in San Diego, that'd be great. Except for the fact that these guys are having a lot of work to do between now and then. Whether it's repainting stuff, polishing stuff, installing new filters, and simply learning new protocols. And so it's not like they're going to be on a cruise, coming to the Caribbean, going like, oh yeah. But that being said, they're probably they're most of the crew is probably happy to be getting paid again and having money to be able to send home with their families. Although I'm sure, with coming up with Thanksgiving and Christmas, well, Thanksgiving more an American thing, I suppose, but Christmas, um, who wants to spend Christmas away from their family? But we'll see.
I have to unmute myself there. There was one confirmed case on MSC Grandiosa. I didn't read everything in depth. I should have, but I saw it. I'm not. It was a confirmed case. Some of these cases that are confirmed that we've seen have come back and they've been false positives. So I guess I need to look at it a little bit more and see the details of it. But I'm sure MSC has taken that person and their family and quarantined them so that nobody else can get sick. But you also got to remember, MSC has been very big on everyone needs to wear a mask. So hopefully that saved other people from getting it if this is true. Agreed, James? So we will move on. Um, as I said, in 2011, James and I took our first Canada New England cruise. It was our first time not doing a Caribbean cruise. So we really weren't too sure on what to pack. We knew we needed a variety of clothes. That's the one thing. It's a total different experience in the Caribbean, which honestly is good. And we went right before Memorial Day weekend. We were the first cruise to port out of Boston, which led for some issues because the whale migration was going on and there was a storm. So our cruise ship actually did not get there until, scroll back up, James. Did not get there.
I was showing them the storm that this, but even in the storm, the hot tub was running, so that was cool.
So our cruise ship did not get there till later because of the whale migration and the storm. So we actually had more time to explore in Boston. So this first picture that you can see is Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock is inside this building. Not what you thought Plymouth Rock would be, right? Most people. There's a picture of me with the Pilgrim lady. We were having fun. And then finally, I think after that is when we got our call and we went and had some food and stuff like that. But we actually did not get on the Carnival Glory till after midnight. Yes. They left us a message and told us, during the day that the ship was not going to be leaving on time. And they gave us a new time. And actually, the new time was wrong too. But they gave us food, like prepackaged sandwich stuff when we got on board. And didn't they also give us some onboard credit too, James?
To be honest, I'm not sure, but I think that cruise was a great example of the fact that sometimes things go wrong, and it's not always the cruise line's fault. I'm glad they didn't go faster through the whale migration, and because I like whales. But unfortunately, a lot of people were just really pissed off, and it kind of ruined the mood for some people. But Carnival did a really good job, and I think people like to piss on Carnival because it is kind of the budget carrier, but they do a really good job of taking care of their passengers when when shit happens. And so yeah, they did a good job. I think they gave us the the bottles of water and the sandwiches and that kind of stuff. And it sucked that we missed the, was it Portsmouth, New Hampshire stop, I think it was, or somewhere in New Hampshire maybe, or maybe somewhere in Maine. But they did a good job. And you're on a cruise ship, for God's sakes, just enjoy it and have some fun. And apparently we have Jeff Dillinger from YouTube said our only cruise on a royal ship from Bayonne to Bar Harbor, St. John, Halifax, first week of September, and I'm glad you had a great time, Jeff. That sounds like an awesome itinerary. We had the itinerary we had out of Boston was similar, but I'm guessing you were probably closer to
Bar Harbor, though. I would have loved to have gone to Bar Harbor.
Yeah. But they didn't get to go to Sydney, so we did. But Jeff, I hope that we can cruise together sometime. But either way, it's about having an experience and having some fun. So I mean, I've never been on a cruise ship overnight in a storm in Boston Harbor where there was no risk of having anything bad, including rough seas. So that was kind of cool. There's me.
Yes, that's a picture. We just we decided when we got on the ship, instead of going right to bed like most people, we wanted to get our pictures in and see what the ship looked like and lay of the land for the next day. We're always that way, kind of a dork like that. There's actually that's the Serenity area on the ship. I'm not sure if it's still the same on Glory, but they had two hot tubs like that at the very front of the ship up on the higher deck, which made it beautiful when we left harbors because James and I would put on our suits and we'd watch as we left the port. It was beautiful. And you know that nice crisp air with a hot tub? God, that's like heaven. Um, you want to scroll down a little, honey? See, I can call him honey too. Honey. Our, our first stop was actually in Portland, Maine. And these are pictures of us by the head lighthouse that you have probably seen a million times. If you want to scroll down a little bit more, there's James. I know everybody has seen this is probably one of the most famous lighthouses in the United States. It's in so many photos. There's me. Okay. Lobster. This is
And
one
that's
of the
really what you all came to New England to have. Honestly, I grew up in south of Boston. Lobsters aren't all that special, but you know what? When you're on a Canada New England cruise, you got to go get a big honkin' lobster and get your hands dirty and your face dirty and your shirt dirty, and it's kind of fun. So definitely having a lobster in Maine is kind of an obligatory thing.
now me. I'd rather just have the lobster bisque, have it all done and ready for me. Lobster bisque is amazing, of course.
Well,
But no,
apparently you had that too, though.
exactly. But Portland was such a cute little town. And honestly, I feel really bad right now for Portland because last week, I think I talked about it, they are having a really rough time right now because most of their money comes from tourism and cruise ships. And since nobody's been there, there's been a lot of fear, people losing their businesses like everywhere. Um, it's just, it's sad. A lot of these communities wholeheartedly, um, what's the word I'm trying to think of? They rely on that cruise ship to come in to earn like half their money or more than half the money a year. So
And it's not just the hospitality business. Certainly 3,000 people getting off a cruise ship and hitting the bars and restaurants and tour guides makes a big impact. But those 3,000 passengers that get off the cruise ship before they even get off, just by the virtue of docking, also pay port fees, and those port fees go to support everything in the town. $5, $10, whatever the port fee is per person times 3,000 people, ends up being a big chunk of cash when you don't get that, it tends to spiral out to other aspects of it too. But hopefully we can work through those things. And I think it just goes to say, like, hey, if you are able to travel right now and you do feel safe, then go and support the businesses. Be safe, be responsible. But uh, maybe you give a $10 tip when you should have given a $5 tip, or not should have, but would have given a $5 tip previously. And anyhow, but you can see from the pictures that Heather and I like to have fun. Um, I don't think we've ever actually bought a cruise line picture. Have we? Okay, well,
yes, we have. Yeah, yeah.
apparently we have, but there's loads of these silly pictures because it's again a cruise is about having fun. So if you can't have fun in these pictures, then it's just boring. And what we found too is that the cruise photographers have fun having us be weird too.
I'm thinking this photo is probably from St. John's, Newfoundland. We went to two St. John's. We went to St. John's, Newfoundland. Am I saying that correctly? Newfoundland?
Well, I think the carnival version is Newfoundland, but I think the actual Canadian version is Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
But it's
And
the fun ship, so maybe it's the Newfoundland.
well, we also went to St. John's in, oh, why can't I think of Nova Scotia, in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And yes, there's another great photo we took. And this picture right here is in the port of Sydney. When you get off the ship in Sydney, you can take a little drive if you get a car, or you can do one of the ship's excursions and do the Cabot Trail. Now, the Cabot Trail is amazing. It's one of the 7 wonders of the North America. Look at the mountains. It's just gorgeous, and you can go all the way around if you have time. We didn't, so we could only go halfway through. Um, but it was amazing. I've got some fall colors to show you of that. And there, the next photo down was of us in Halifax at their gardens, which were beautiful. And I bet that's beautiful in the fall as well. More gardens. And here I couldn't see what bar that was at, but along with all of these ports of call, if you love beer, you're going to be in heaven, because all of these places have lots of beer and lots of micro brews. So if you want to get, your friends together, all your beer loving friends, and do a fun cruise, this would be it for you. This was all of their beers. And actually, this restaurant, too, is the first time I ever had a peanut butter and jelly burger. And man, that thing was good. And now I love peanut butter and jelly burgers. James. Hey, hon. Oh, no, I was saying, what did you think of Halifax? He's off in La La Land today.
Sorry, I was trying to find out the name of the brewery. It's Rock Bottom Brewery, and I think that was in St. John, New Brunswick.
But it's not rock bottom as what you're thinking.
No, it's the actual brewery name is Rock Bottom, not the chain. And it was good. It's fun trying different beers, different places, and I don't know, what did we do in that town. I think we just kind of walked around a little bit and had some beer and had some food and just
We
kind of
also
chilled.
did the ducks.
That was in Halifax though.
That was Halifax.
Was that beer in Halifax?
Yes.
Okay.
So we did that in Halifax. We did a duck tour. We were the only ones on the duck tour. There it is. There's us going into the water. Another cool thing that I was trying to look up, James, if you can mute for a second. One of the things that I was looking for was my grandmother came across the Atlantic from Scotland. And a lot of people, it wasn't New York that was the main port of entry when they came to the US. Halifax was a huge port as well. So I had a picture of her boat, and I wanted to see if there was anything there they have a museum about people, coming to North America through Halifax. But there wasn't really any information. The only information I have is from what we found on Ancestry. But another cool thing there is that building off to the right in that picture is a casino. And inside that casino, when you open the door, they have a replica of the staircase from the Titanic, which is really cool. Because the Titanic, if you remember correctly, and mind you, I might get something screwed up, when it hit the iceberg, it was the closest place it was Halifax. So when they picked up all of the survivors, they brought them to Halifax to check off their names and everything like that, and to so Halifax played a big part in the Titanic. And Halifax just played a huge part in all of our lives. I mean, if you oh okay, you got to go to Peggy's Cove in Fairlawn Cemetery. I think we did the hop on, hop off bus, which I think we passed some of those things. That's how we got to go to the Botanic Gardens. Yeah,
Yeah. On our trip, did we go to the history museum?
yes, we did, but we weren't there very
Okay.
long.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that 1900 explosion that Jeff mentioned was a really, I don't want to say cool, but the impact was absolutely horrific. But it was amazing how much power that explosion had. That it pretty much dumped all the water out of the harbor and caused essentially a tidal wave that destroyed a lot of the town.
Can you tell people a little bit about it?
Well, aside from the fact that it was a explosion on, I think, a munitions ship that uh, some people have compared it to the impact of a nuclear bomb, although it wasn't radioactive. Obviously, it was just a ship full of TNT and explosives that I'm not sure if it caught fire or something happened and happened to be sitting in the harbor. Well, you get an explosion on the water that just pushes the water up in all the directions and caused essentially a tsunami that wiped out tons of the town. Beyond that, I'm not sure the exact details, but maybe Jeff does.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that cruise a lot. But one thing I kept thinking was, man, would this cruise be awesome if it was in the fall? That would just make it was this, really great as is, but I'm one who loves fall. I live in San Diego. We do not have a fall. I miss it so much. Um, I can't wait to go back. And this time we're going to do a fall cruise. And we'll tell you a little bit and show you some pictures of the different options you have if you're wanting to do a fall cruise. Or if you just want to do, I think May was the cheaper cruise because it was first of the season. But if you like fall, there you definitely have some options.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I would think the Cabot Trail would be absolutely stunning with the colors. It was beautiful green, but I suspect that those trees would be absolutely stunning in the fall, especially if you hit it at the right time.
Definitely.
Uh, Heather, you're muted. So anyhow, this is the fun of only having two people because when we had Ashley with us, at least she could speak when we were muted. But
Well, I'm trying to show a picture, so I'm trying to
okay.
bring it up.
Well, then I'll talk while you're trying to get that. Uh, but no, the interesting thing too is the fact that the Canada New England cruises are a completely different experience. Yes, it's north, but it's not just a East Coast version of Alaska. Where the Alaska cruises are still the summer, and most people doing the Caribbean all year round, where it's kind of the same temperature. The Canada New England cruises, I think, are really unique because you're not getting. I mean, there's no Diamonds International when you dock in Halifax. I mean, there probably is, but for the most part, it's not like you're finding the Caribbean style ports, and it's not like the Alaska ports that are all built up. It's a really unique thing where you might be the only cruise ship there that week. So as a result, it feels much more natural. Feels much more like you're actually visiting the area as opposed to, hey, we're on a cruise vacation. And one of the instances, I can't remember where it was. Was it Sydney, where like the local high school band showed up on the dock and was playing the Canadian national anthem for us, and then did a rendition of the American national anthem just to welcome us into Sydney. Like it's kind of folksy and fun, but honestly, it was really special because very seldom when you're on a cruise do you actually feel like you're a guest as opposed to an imposition. And I completely encourage you guys to try that. And especially since then, I think when we did it, it was really just Royal Caribbean and Carnival, and there's probably celebrity did stuff too. But I feel like since then, it's really evolved into a lot of expedition ships, and the small ships are doing really cool stuff. But we'll get to that in a little bit. 'Cause one of my dream cruises is taking the new Viking expedition cruises through the Great Lakes. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Now, this photo for those of you who like to leaf peep, as they say, if you're a peeper, this tells you, at least for primarily Maine, um, when you would be able to see colors. So if you're going in September, you're going to have to go inland a little bit more to see, just because the water does make a difference. Water always makes a difference because it's always going to be a little bit warmer, so it's going to prolongate the leaf changing. So right there you can see mid-October is probably the best time to see in Portland and in Bar Harbor, which I would love to go to Bar Harbor. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Wouldn't you, James?
Yeah, that's to be honest. I'm not really sure. Aside from everyone saying Bar Harbor is wonderful, I really don't know much about it. But I'd go anywhere with you.
Well,
You're
here's another photo.
you're muted again, Heather.
I'm trying to share photos, James.
Well, anyhow, Jeff, if you're still watching, let us know how Bar Harbor was, because I've heard about her. I've heard a lot about it, but I don't know much about it.
I'm going to try to share some more photos, so bear with me because this is my first time doing this stuff. So, um,
While Heather's trying to find the cruise share stuff, let me. I'm going to share some of the Carnival itineraries just to show you guys some of the diversity they have. So these are just right off their website. Looks like Carnival is doing a lot of stuff out of New York right now, but you've got the prices aren't really that terrible. Compared when you compare it to what you might find for an Alaska cruise or some of the other smaller ones. I think it's simply because there's just a lot of volume these days. So like this one is just New York St. John. It's a 4-day, and you got the 6 days, and you've got the 7 days, and there's an 8-day. So I guess Carnival must not be sailing out of Boston anymore, but they do have one out of Baltimore. But now Heather has her stuff, so let me throw hers on for Princess.
yeah, Princess really they they do they do Alaska right, they do New England and Canada right, and if you look on there, you can even go to Greenland. One of the itineraries was 16 days that included the stops in Greenland, round trip from New York, and an inside cabin was $2,000 per person. Not bad. But if you look here, the ships where they go all the way to Quebec as well. So you could have a ship leaving out of New York and ending in Quebec. So you could see, look at all the little towns you could see. You'd be on the St. Lawrence River. Um,
And Jeff just added that Bar Harbor is really an island, which I didn't realize it was just an island, and that they did a horse-drawn carriage through the park and up the side of the mountain. Um, and I guess apparently big into blueberry items. That sounds really cool. I like blueberries. Thanks, Jeff.
he must have been in the summer then. Blueberries. Yes, I've heard blueberries are huge there too, like Montana and their huckleberries. But look, you have all those different places you can go to, which is awesome. Let's
Is that all?
see.
Is that all one cruise, Heather?
No, that's all their ports that they do go to.
Oh, okay.
But some of their longer ones do incorporate many of those
I
ports.
I would love to go to Quebec City in the fall. I think that would be absolutely beautiful, floating along the St. Lawrence River. So, anyhow,
Get back here.
as
Sorry, I'm trying to get back. This is my first time doing this, and it's been kind of hard. First time putting the stuff up on screen. So I'm actually, James, if you want to talk while I try to get a video up.
well, I have the video ready for you.
Oh, do you?
The video you sent me earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's throw that up there then.
Okay, if that doesn't get you excited to go on a New England Canada cruise, I don't know what will
Although I'm really
get you
confused,
excited.
how on earth did Charlottesville, Virginia get on a Canada New England video?
That's the land tour side.
Oh, okay.
Princess is known also for their land tours, and they do pre and post land tours. And I was looking at some of the itineraries, and they'll be anywhere from 3 to 5 days post or pre, so you can really explore and really get into everything that's going on, which is amazing. Um, if you have the time, I think that would be great to do.
So are they doing that a tour out of? Are they stopping in Philadelphia then and driving down to Virginia?
I think Baltimore.
Okay, Baltimore.
They actually start some of the cruises from Fort Lauderdale and go up.
That'd be a long cruise. But I guess that's not worse than the Princess one I'm hoping to get on next year for from Los Angeles to Alaska. So, but yeah, looking at that stuff, Montreal just looks absolutely amazing, and the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Seaway is one of my favorite areas for for a fall cruise. So whenever you're ready, I'd love to go on and pimp some Viking expedition stuff. But it looks like you have some.
I'm trying to share another photo. Doesn't that look gorgeous of Quebec City in the fall? I'll show you some other photos. Here's one of the Cabot Trail in the fall. And there we have Charlottetown. How cute is that little downtown?
Now, where is that?
Charlottetown.
Is that in Quebec?
No, it's on the other side of Nova Scotia, I think.
Oh.
Um, Also, Newport, Rhode Island. And you can't forget about the Bay of Fundy, which is amazing.
Another fun place.
Exactly. I'm trying to get back to you here. This photo actually that I got, that is the Bay in, my tongue is twisted. The Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. Am I correct with that? In St. John, Nova Scotia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or no, I don't know.
Oh gosh, now I'm really getting things screwed up in my head.
St. John is New Brunswick.
No, there's two St. Johns.
Is there? Okay.
We went to both.
That was confusing.
So the tide here can go up to 50 feet depending on the time of day and the season and that. So that's what makes this fun. People will take a tour there, do kayaking. It's one of those other amazing places in North America that you're like, how can the tide change 4 stories in a day? And it can.
Now, on that subject, I think one of the things that's also really important to consider if you're doing a Canada New England cruise, especially if you're doing the ones around Nova Scotia and St. John and or New Brunswick and stuff, is while normally I don't encourage people to book the cruise line cruises. I think generally speaking, you can savvy travelers can work with their travel agent to find other providers that are going to be cheaper and more customized. The exception here is absolutely you should look at the cruise line driven tours on this itinerary, because there are several examples of where we didn't, and either we weren't able to go and fully explore the places we wanted to go to, or we just barely got back and made the ship. And if we had had a car that broke down, or an accident, or a moose that decided it wasn't going to go across the road, that 45-minute delay could have been the difference between us spending the night on the cruise ship or spending $1,000 to fly to the next port. Whereas if you're on a cruise ship official itinerary, they will either hold the ship or they will send you to the next port on their dime. And that's a really important thing because things like this place, you will not be able to go on your own. You have to do a tour.
I wanted to tell you that this is St. John, New Brunswick. Yes, not. It is kind of confusing. When I saw two St. John's when we went on our cruise originally, I'm like, what? How does that work? But yeah, no, it's James is right. We thought we could do our own excursions, and honestly, everything costs so much. Just like when you go to Alaska, all the excursions are very expensive. So that is totally different compared to the Caribbean. So you need to plan to have some money with you. And okay,
That sounds really cool, Jeff.
I think James and I would love to do that.
Just don't get trapped.
Yes, no, that's true. But what was I saying, James? Today I'm just a little off.
Um, I think you're talking as far as the excursions and why they're important, and the
Oh,
fact that
yes.
kind of like how in Alaska, um, you pretty much need to have the excursions. Although but that being said, I think in Alaska for the savvy traveler, and especially the savvy traveler who's working with a good travel advisor, you can have a great experience in Alaska without spending a ton of money, and without having to feel like you have a fear of coming back. For instance, if you're on the White Pass Railroad, your travel advisor can book that. It won't be the one that comes down to the dock, like if you booked it through the cruise line. But for the most part, the White Pass Railroad has enough passengers on it that are going to be fine. But in Canada, New England, especially when you get off in kind of the hinterlands of the Cabot Trail or St. John and that kind of stuff, you really do need to have the official one for certain trips. But that being said, I could have a great time just stopping at each port and just having a couple beers and having some lobster and some sandwiches and some bacon or whatever the local thing is too. But certainly, if you're dropping thousands of dollars to be on this cruise and you wanted to see that whatever that area is that's so famous. I can't remember what the name of it was, Heather. But if you spend that much money, don't be cheap. Just build.
Cabot Trail,
Well, the Cabot Trail, but then what's the one with the different pillars that you just showed in St. John?
Bay of Fundy.
Yeah, if you're going to spend the money to get up there in the first place, just pick the right tour and pick the one that's going to take you there and be safe because you do not want to be stuck, and that's something that is really unique about that area versus Alaska. But anyhow,
I thought we'd bring up the map again just to give people some perspective. So if you look at the map, a lot of people do excursions from Bar Harbor to Arcadia National Park. And as you can see where the Bay of Fundy is, there's the two St. John's. Here's New Brunswick. Here's Newfoundland. Sorry, I'm staring at the screen like up close. Sydney is where we got off for the Cabot Trail. Cape Breton Island. James still wears his shirt that instead of John Deere, it says John Moose. It's a cute shirt. And there's where Charlottetown is, James, on the other side. And I have not been to any of these places. Now, James, you've been to Quebec, correct?
I was there on my senior class trip because you could drink at 18. And actually, no, I was there in Quebec last year too.
You were in Montreal, yes.
I was in Montreal, not Quebec City. But yeah, we went to. Actually, no, I don't. No, I've never been to Quebec City. I've been to Quebec province.
I would love to go there. I mean, everything that I see on here, I want to do.
Now, what I want to do, and I'm just nerdy about this, but I want to be able to go further down. I mean, most of the cruises stop in Quebec because that's where it's really the last major port. But I am so excited that Viking Expeditions is going to be doing some cruises. As you can see here, they're actually leaving out of Milwaukee, but they're going up to Mackinac Island. This one is September. Hold on, September 10th, and they've got some other ones that are in the fall too. But they have a great little video that shows kind of what you can expect in that time. So I wanted to throw that up there too. But hold on, I don't think I did the audio.
It's all good.
Embark on a voyage of discovery through the natural wonders of North America's Great Lakes with Viking. Your enriching journey begins in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a revitalized city that mixes the contemporary with icons from its industrial past. A favorite district is the historic Third Ward, where brick warehouses, once filled with the businesses of Italian immigrants, have beautifully transformed into a vibrant neighborhood. From Milwaukee, your Viking ship sets sail across Lake Michigan for Mackinac Island, a delightful window into a bygone era, where horse-drawn carriages are the preferred mode of transportation in this sleepy, carless village. Then it's on to Canada to explore the quaint towns of Little Current and Parry Sound, nestled into the shores of Georgian Bay. The bay itself is a place of legend, its many islands said to have been created by the god Kichikawana, who, after a beautiful princess broke his heart, grabbed a fistful of earth and hurled it into the azure waters where it broke apart. Your purpose-built Viking vessel is an ideal base from which to explore and learn. A floating classroom sharing the science behind the fascinating ecosystems you're sailing through. And your expedition-class ship is equipped with watercraft, so you can investigate intriguing shorelines up close whenever possible. The opportunities are plentiful, including at Killarney, Ontario, where you can soak up the striking scenery that inspired the Group of Seven, a collection of Canadian artists in the early 20th century who started the country's first national art movement to forever honor Canada's majestic landscapes. Next up, the impressive Sioux Locks, known as the linchpin of the Great Lakes. They make it possible to effortlessly traverse the 21-foot difference in water levels between Lake Huron and Lake Superior. Your extraordinary journey concludes in Thunder Bay, Ontario, where an overnight stay gives you time to set out into its verdant forests. Step back into the days of the fur traders at a living museum. Gaze upon natural features at Sleeping Giant Provincial Park, and much, much more. There is perhaps no better place to complete your exploration of some of North America's most majestic waterways. Embark on a voyage of discovery through the natural wonders of North America.
So that's just one of the ones that they have. The Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are going to be one of the areas that I think a lot of people aren't expecting. I mean, clearly when we went to the launch, God, it seemed like 2 years ago, but it was actually in January. A lot of people didn't. They're like, why would you go to the Great Lakes? That's so boring. But the reality is, like, these are amazing places, but especially for the fall. Like, this one goes out of Toronto, stops in Detroit. You got Traverse City. So anybody who likes wine is going to love this. I mean, this would be just a phenomenal, like, wine and beer, cider kind of trip. I'm thinking of how amazing that would be to be sitting there in Traverse City in the fall. I don't know, before I get too geeky into that, let's see what the actual timing is. So yeah, September 24th. Think about sitting in Traverse City, drinking some wine off the Leelanau Peninsula or whatever, looking at a beautiful fall colors. Doesn't that just sound amazing? And it's kind of one of those things that, yeah, you know what?
It does.
In a better year, I think a lot of people might go, hey, you know what? Let's go and do that in Bavaria or somewhere on the Rhine or the Danube or the Douro or whatever. But hey, you know what? You're gonna save $3,000 a person flying. You know, because nobody on Viking is gonna fly coach, so you're gonna save $3,000 just off the top flying. You know, to Toronto instead of flying to wherever. And then these cruises are only, $7,000 for this, which is 8 days. That's not cheap. Clearly, it's clearly way more expensive than the Carnival expedition. But you're going to places that very few people actually go to, and seeing things, and being not just in one area to see some fall colors, being able to actually see all sorts of different stuff. So I think these are going to be really, really popular, and it's probably my bucket list right now, even more so than going to Douro. Although I absolutely want to go to Portugal, but being able to see and experience the Great Lakes like this in the fall would be just absolutely stunning.
Well, I'm definitely your Great Lakes girl. You know that. Um, born outside of Cleveland, Ohio, Lake Erie. Love Lake Michigan, Huron. Love all my Great Lakes. I think those are amazing. And the price, yes, it's more expensive, but one, you're on a smaller ship. Two, you're getting more bang for your buck. Three, you're seeing, as James said, places that you would never be able to see before. And you've got little exploration boats that you can use and go out on as well. It's amazing. And till now, there have been cruises that leave out of Chicago on the Great Lakes. And I'm not downing those cruise lines because they do have a market. I think one of them actually closed down because of COVID, though. Not being able to make up the money. But I think there was two that do the Great Lakes. Both of them are older ships. Not so luxurious as the exploration ship from Viking is going to be. It's going to be amazing. That Viking ship, when it's not in the Great Lakes, will either be in Antarctica or it will be doing Norway, Sweden, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be very exciting to see those when they come out, and I can only hope to be on one of those trips. But and hopefully once they get some stuff under their belt in the Great Lakes, other towns say, hey, now that you're doing this town, why don't you come to our town? We'll put something up for you too. And that'll open things up. I don't want a lot of ships going in the Great Lakes because we've done tons of stuff to get the Great Lakes clean again. And I'm not saying, ships are dirty, but yes, they do have a pollution factor. But because the Great Lakes are smaller than the ocean, it would have more of an impact. But definitely something that I want to do. All of these trips, honestly, are stuff I want to do. I miss the fall. I want to get back out there. And some people are like, oh, it's so cold up north. I don't want to go. There's bugs. You know what? Deal with it. It's beautiful. Go see the world. Travel wherever. I mean, you only have one life to live, and live it the best you can. And definitely any of these northern cruises would be amazing. Oh, and to speak of, James was talking about, what was it that you were talking, James was talking about Traverse City in the fall. Well, I've been there in the fall around that time, and it's amazing.
And just for those of you who, I mean, we're kind of migrating westward right now, but Canada New England cruises get really well known because that's kind of where the industry was, for the last 15 years. But it's really, really exciting now that we have the Great Lakes, but we also have stuff on the West Coast too. Clearly you're not going to Canada, or you're not going to what do you call it, Alaska in November. But look at
Yeah,
this.
but you missed something.
What did I miss?
You're on American Cruise Lines, who also does the New York River Cruise.
Oh, did that? Well, I didn't even get to the river cruise for New York. Is that open in the fall?
That's the only time it is open.
Oh, okay. Well, how about that? Well, I just love my
He just
Columbia
wants
River.
to do the West Coast.
Hey, you know what? Tell me that that's not absolutely gorgeous.
No, it is totally gorgeous.
So here, what's your where's your
New England Cruises.
New England cruises? Okay.
And actually, they have got
Oh, the
some
Hudson.
great
Ooh,
ones
look at that.
too.
That's pretty.
That's really cool. And then they have an island one in Maine where they go to all the little islands.
But most of the ones in Maine they end in September. This one goes to October. Where is this? Hudson River Cruise view map. American Cruise Lines, you guys need to get more promotion out there because you guys have some really cool stuff that people need to know about, because that's a super cool cruise, especially for anybody in New York City who just wants to. I mean, truthfully, I think a lot of people will be like, why do I want to go to Albany? But that being said, being able to go to West Point, and I've never been to Sleepy Hollow, but that sounds kind of fun. And you have the what are the dates for the Cape Codder cruise? That sounds fun too. That's in the summer. But anyhow,
You have so many choices.
Yeah.
So many choices.
And
So if you want any of those, call me and I can try to figure out with you which cruise you would like best.
yeah.
I was thought James was going to say something else there for a second.
Well, no. What I was looking for is the I think Uncruise has some cruises in the early fall out of Seattle as well, in the Squamish or Salish Sea area. But either way, the point is that there's some really cool fall itineraries that are going to be even bigger next year, because of the fact that you don't have to fly to Europe, you don't have to fly to Asia, you don't have to fly somewhere else, and frankly, you don't even have to fly to Florida. I mean, without a doubt, Florida is showing that it is the hottest cruise market. But for those of you who want to drive somewhere, then there are cruises in the fall where you can see some fall colors and have some great time. So I'm excited.
We're going to wrap up here. Before we totally wrap up, anybody who watches this, please post and tell us which port out of all of these places seems the most interesting to you, and which cruise line you would like to go with, and even what itinerary you think would be great. Just curious on what you guys think about all these fall cruises. And I mean, like I said, you can do them in the summer as well. But let us know. We want to know. And if you have any pictures of fall in your area that are beautiful, go ahead and post them to Flow Voyage's Facebook page, because I want to see them. I miss the fall so much. James, do you have anything left?
I think that's all she wrote. Although it doesn't fit in here, but I'm looking forward to doing fall cruises in Baja and Mexico too. But that's probably a different kind of fall cruises.
That's not. Yeah, that's going to be warm cruises. Hot. We're in San Diego, so we finally have cooled down to 74 today,
Woohoo!
which is still warm for us.
So Heather's gonna be wearing a blanket and her beanie cap tonight.
No, that's if it gets to 65. But anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry we were a little off today. When we have two people, it makes it a little bit more difficult on the share screen. We're not as advanced as we think we should be, or you would want us to be. But once again, we enjoy talking about cruises. And if you have anything else you'd like to say, anybody, like, please add comments. And next week we're going to do some things a little bit differently. We haven't figured out the time because we're actually going to be in wine country in California in Paso Robles. But we're still going to come on for a little bit together as we drink some wine and talk about some of the wine areas you could possibly see in California.
Woohoo!
So lots of fun. Have a great rest of your week and enjoy fall weather if you have it, because many of us are jealous of you. Thank you and have a great day. See you later.